Certainly. Joe Britton? Here's, okay. Rachel Chalesky?
Here.
Kate Canetta here. Gladys Cooper?
Here.
I believe Lauren is absent for the regular meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Joe De Silva? I don't know if Joe's popped on since we started. I don't see him. Catherine Hodgson?
Here.
Rich Gianelli?
Here.
Kathy Molinaro?
Here.
Al Russo?
Here.
Amy Spallina?
Here.
All
Okay. We're going to move down to the recognition part of our agenda.
Yes. Is Dr. LaBanca here?
I am.
Okay, let's do the honor. You have the honors there, Doc.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see you today.
Good
Westside
evening. It's
Middle
nice
School.
to see you.
Thank you. Westside Middle School Academy is so proud to congratulate the Connecticut School Counselor Association Counselor of the Year, our very own Mr. Curtis Dara. Curtis is waving to us. You know, Curtis does amazing service to the school, our parents, our students, and our faculty. But I think, you know, in recognizing him for this award, it's also a great tribute to the service he does for his association and the counselors across the state, making presentations frequently, serving in leadership roles at the state level. So we're just so very proud to have him as a member of our school, for the wonderful job he does for all our students, and also for the recognition that he brings to us as well. So Curtis, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Dr. LaBanca. You know, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't have a couple of words I wanted to say to everybody. So Danbury Public School staff, students, and esteemed Board of Education, I'm humbled and excited about this award and to be representing not only our state, but Danbury, Connecticut at the national level. You might notice my purple cow in the back. That's Milky Way, and I'll tell you about why he's an important part of my life. As I reflect on the past 6 years in Danbury and being at Westside Middle School Academy, I can't help but smile at all the learning experiences I was so lucky to be a part of in this district. My favorite part of being a middle school counselor is having students for 3 years from 6th grade to 8th grade. Everything I do is with a lens with what's best interest in my students. The amazing transitional growth in middle school from 6th to 8th grade has always been a delight for me to be a part of their adolescent journey. And as eager and excited and hopeful learners, those 3 years are full of mistakes, passion, courage, and learning. They leave middle school as independent, grateful, and inspired learners from around the world. This past school year alone, we helped with many students find their way, take on new challenges, and as school counselors, we've been there for when a kid realized they did something mean, something wrong, got accepted to college, scored a high grade that they worked for, and cheered them on at a dance recital. The smiles and the hugs and the thank yous, the high fives, they make it all worth it. It's funny, as I go into this profession, that sometimes I feel like I'm the one that's teaching them all about life. And at times, I get surprised when it's a student that teaches me what life is all about. From my favorite Dr. Seuss story, The Lorax, I learned that unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's gonna get better. It's not. Oh, and Milky Way here, around the last week of school, a student gave me this cow and said, Mr. Dara, I simply just wanna thank you so much for teaching me how to be a purple cow. And I said, wow, a purple cow? And he goes, you taught me that it's important to stand out than to fit in. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. I challenge you all to find the purple inner cow within you. Seek adventure, explore every opportunity, and turn those I can'ts and I won'ts to I cans and I will. Stay true to yourself and be who you are. This summer, make sure you spend some time at the ocean. I was told that the ocean forces you to dream, and I insist that every single one of you become dreamers. Always remember to have courage and be kind. Thank you all so much for this recognition.
Thank you. On behalf of the board, we would like to say we are just so happy to have you working for us in our system. And with that smile, anyone can you can gain anyone over with that beautiful smile. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Curtis.
Thank you all so much.
Okay. Kate,
Got
will
it.
you do? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just want to let you know, I just heard from Joe De Silva. He's running a few minutes late, but he expects to jump on shortly.
Okay. Could you do the strip for public participation? And after that, Carol will do the 3 comments.
The board welcomes public participation and asks that comments be limited to 3 minutes. The public may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. Due to the unique nature of the COVID-19 crisis and the limitations of technology, members of the public who are Danbury residents are invited to send brief comments and questions via email in advance to dps_public_BOE@danbury.k12.ct.us.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, our first comment tonight is from Ann Riddle to the Board of Education. Thank you to Kathleen O'Dowd, Donna Whitehead, and Susan Germain for their seamless guidance in navigating quarantines, COVID testing, and vaccinations for me, a DPS teacher. Their help included phone calls, directions, times for testing, and a late afternoon phone call to run to Rogers Park to get a vaccination that became available that day. Their assistance, every question a person might have had been anticipated. In addition, I thank the board members and the DPS administration for presenting public discussions on COVID-19 with Dr. Fong and others. Finally, I appreciate the tough decisions made by Dr. Pascarella in conjunction with the Board of Education to keep the rest of the school year as a hybrid in consideration of the health of our students, staff, and community. Second comment is from Gabriela Perez. It was submitted by Gabriela Perez on behalf of Cristela Cruz. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Cristela Cruz. I am a Danbury High School graduate and have a younger brother who currently attends DHS. I wanted to share a little bit about his story because I think it's worth hearing the stories of children in our system. My little brother is a great kid. He is kind and caring, but he has a tendency to be very, very shy. In a school as big as DHS, it was very easy for a student like him to get lost amongst the chaos of thousands of other students. My brother struggled with this because he needed a more individualized approach to his education and perhaps smaller classrooms to put him at ease and allow teachers to see him fully. Less kids would allow him to come out of his shell, as well as the opportunity to explore his interests. My brother loves to cook and one day hopes to become a chef. Because of his passion, my mom and I tried to enroll him in Abbott Tech, as they have a culinary program and smaller class sizes, but unfortunately he wasn't accepted, and we were left with a very few options for his schooling. My brother tried to join one of the few home ec classes at DHS, but again, he wasn't lucky enough to be chosen. While his teachers are wonderful and try their best to accommodate him, it is clear that DHS is severely overcrowded, and quiet, shy kids like my brother aren't developing full potential as a result. Danbury needs more schools. We need charters and magnets and technical schools so that parents and students can make informed decisions and get the most out of their education. Please consider the urgency of the situation as our town continues to grow bigger and bigger. Thank you. The last submittal is from Eva Jimenez. First, I would like to say thank you to the Board of Ed for the opportunity to submit my testimony on behalf of my community. I am a proud member of LEAD, Latino for Educational Advocacy and Diversity. As a resident of Danbury who went through the public school system, I know firsthand many of the issues faced by our school. The main issue is one of overcrowding, especially in our middle schools and high schools. I am writing today to urge the board to put politics aside and advocate for a more permanent solution to our problems of overcrowding in the city. I do understand that many decades of neglect and poor funding are to blame for the crisis we are experiencing today. In order to have an equitable solution that satisfies our future needs and provides another educational option to our parents, the Democrats and Board of Ed must end their vocal opposition to the charter school we are working so hard to open. I will be blunt and honest since I am not a politician. Some board members are losing credibility for their opposition to the charter school and their unwavering support of our Democratic delegation. This divides our community when we could all be working together and using all of our resources to ask for more equitable funding from both the city and the state. This blind opposition, solely based on politics, discredits many board members as they ask City Hall for more funding. It makes them seem like they only care about our children's future if it fits their political party. The majority of our community continues to support the opening of a charter school, and our base grows every day. We have noticed that our delegation is willing to perish on an ideological hill that will turn the majority of Latinos against them. What we are witnessing is a blatant disrespect for the needs of an entire minority community. Just because the delegation has gathered a handful of Latino leaders to oppose something they don't even understand, it doesn't mean that the majority of Danburyans does not support the charter school. We ask that the objective leaders of the Board of Ed to work with us, ask our delegation and the union to back off and allow us to build this school. You know it is the right thing to do, and it will go a long way with helping the crisis we are in. Then we can join forces and partner to ensure we have equitable funding from both the city and the state. If you allow some of the Board of Ed members to continue to put politics ahead of the needs of our students, there will be a long-term and irreversible consequence. I feel that our community is being ignored and underestimated. I do hope the Board of Ed seriously considers a meeting with our delegation and allows us to build this much-needed school right in downtown. Thank you. And that concludes the public participation.
Thank you, Kara, for the 3 comments. Kate, will you do the motion for the consent calendar?
Yes, I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar, exhibits 21-56 through 21-59 as recommended.
Did I hear a second?
Al Russo, seconds.
Okay. Motion has been made by Kate, seconded by Al. Are there any questions concerning the consent calendar? Seeing none, Kate, would you do the roll call?
Certainly. Joe Britton?
Joe's mic is not working.
Yes, he gave me
That's
a,
what I read in the chat.
he gave me a
Okay.
thumbs up there. Yep.
Okay.
Rachel Chalesky?
Aye.
Kate Canetta? Aye. Gladys Cooper?
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson?
Aye.
Rich Janelli?
Aye.
Kathy Molinaro?
Aye.
Al Russo?
Aye.
Amy Spallino?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Kate. The motion is so carried. Kate, would you do the motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda.
A motion has been made by Kate to amend the agenda. Could I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made by Kate, seconded by Kathy.
Mhm. What's
Uh,
the amendment?
I'm sorry?
What is the amendment?
It is related to the
Read the
selection
amendment.
of the,
Is it to add an item to the agenda?
it is, yes.
Add an item to the agenda. Okay. Okay, Kate, yes. The motion was made by Kate, seconded by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye. Do
Kate?
you want me
Aye.
to do a roll call?
Yeah, do the roll call.
Sure. Joe Britton?
Yes.
Rachel Chalesky?
Abstain?
Kate Canetta, yes. Gladys Cooper?
Yes.
Catherine Hodgson?
Abstain.
Rich Janelli?
Abstain.
Kathy Molinaro? You're on mute, Kathy, sorry.
Aye.
Thank you. Al Russo?
Abstain.
And Amy Spallino?
Abstain.
What's the count?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abstentions and 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor.
Okay, so the motion is defeated. Okay. Am I correct, Kim?
I'm sorry, I thought she said 5 in favor and 4 abstentions.
Is that
Flip those numbers.
Okay. I guess I'm just questioning is the reason for the, I'm curious the reason for the abstentions. Maybe you can clarify.
okay?
And I think it may be some confusion about what the purpose of the amendment is.
Right. Kathy, Monell, would you read the motion or just go about what we were deciding, why we need to add this motion to the agenda tonight?
Kathy, on mute.
You're on mute.
If would you like me to
I'd
clarify?
be
Madam Chair?
happy.
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy, go ahead.
So this is a motion in order for the board to be authorized to enter into a contract with a search firm for the search for the superintendent.
Yeah.
And so in order to enter into that agreement, the board needs to needs to vote affirmatively to enter into the agreement. And that's what the motion's about.
So Kim, why wouldn't that be presented with the motion rather than just a blind?
It could be. It could be. I think that's more just, yes, it absolutely could be.
All right,
That's the
thank
purpose
you.
of it. Yep.
So maybe somebody could call the question again?
Yes.
Possible?
I'll call the
Want me to make a
question.
motion to amend the agenda? I make a
Okay.
motion to amend the agenda.
Purpose?
Motion made by Kathy,
Following purpose to, so that the Board of Ed can vote to enter into a contract with a search firm.
I will second that.
okay, motion made by Kathy, seconded by Kate. Any discussion? Do the roll call, Kate.
Sure. Joe Britton,
Yes.
Rachel Chalesky,
Aye.
Kate Canetta, aye. Gladys Cooper,
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson,
Aye.
Rich Janelli,
Yes,
Kathy Molinaro,
Aye.
Al Russo,
Yes.
Amy Spalino,
Aye.
and I see Joe De Silva on here now.
Aye, snuck in when you weren't looking.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, thank you. Motion so passed.
So for clarity's sake, for me, would that come under the action item?
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you might want to, Kim, just for clarity, do we take it up as a first item?
You can, you've moved to amend the agenda, so you can put it, I would put it right now since you're all
Yeah.
on the topic.
If that's okay with you guys.
Yep.
Are you ready for the motion?
Yes,
That the board enter into an agreement with Ray and Associates for the purposes of providing consulting and search services for the selection and hiring of the superintendent of schools commencing July 1st, 2021, under the terms and conditions as provided in Ray and Associates standard agreement.
Second,
motion made by Kathy, seconded by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Kate, do the roll call, please.
Joe Britton,
Yes.
Rachel Chalesky,
Aye.
Kate Canetta, aye. Gladys Cooper,
Yes,
Joe De Silva,
aye.
Catherine Hodgson,
Aye.
Rich Janelli,
yes,
Kathy Molinaro,
Aye.
Al Russo,
Yes.
Amy Spalino.
Aye.
thank you. Motion so carried. Do we have anyone from the NEA to speak, Aaron?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Miss Cooper. How are you today?
Hi, Aaron, how are you?
It's nice to see you all. I want to take a minute before I get started to just congratulate my friend Curtis Dara. I am so thrilled for him winning this award, earning this award for his hard work with his students. On a personal note, I just want to say Curtis and I share many students over the years, and the students who, some of them happen to be my favorite, I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but we inevitably do, will always come back and tell me how he changed their lives in so many like small ways, but essential and important ways that they remember forever. I have high schoolers coming back and telling me, you know, things about Curtis. I have fifth graders who have just met him for the first time saying they can't wait to go and work with him and do the fun activities that he talks about. So he's a pretty amazing asset to Danbury Public Schools. And many of you don't know that he's also a fierce lobbyist for our students, and he testifies often at the state level on behalf of our students, and he's a fierce student advocate. So all of his work, he's one of our unsung heroes. So it's nice to see Curtis get some recognition, and we're just really proud of him. And he's also a wonderful active member of NEA Danbury and does a lot of work with us too. So we're thrilled for him. So spring is in the air, everyone. And as a third grade teacher, I always kind of want to couch my remarks at these board meetings like a report card, like a teacher writes a report card, right? So I'm going to start off with some really positive things, tell you a few things that maybe that we need to talk about on a deeper level in the future, and then I'll wrap it up with some more positive and exciting things. So with spring in the air, some great things are happening in our schools. And in case you haven't had a chance to see them personally, I've been told that 381 seniors managed to get together and line up for their senior portrait, which was a huge undertaking, and administration did a fantastic job making that happen. A little bit sense of normalcy coming back to the high school, and kids starting to feel like, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. The Hatters class of 2021 finished their beautiful handprint mural. If you haven't had a chance to see that, it's amazing. And the teachers doubted this, that all of the senior class would stand in line to put their handprint on this mural wall, and everybody did. They waited. So it was worth it to them, which is a cool thing to see. Proms, graduations underway for planning. It's exciting times, and certainly normalcy that everybody welcomes. In elementary schools this week, walking through the halls, kids are making Mother's Day cards and Mother's Day presents, another sense of normalcy. They're growing seeds and journaling in their notebooks about seed growth. They're playing on the playground together. They're doing outdoor play dates. My own students are talking about getting together with masks outside for play dates. Kids are having baseball games together on the fields and talking about who is going to strike out the other one first. Hearing these conversations in school is just doing all of our hearts such benefit, and making us all feel like we're moving forward. Some of the challenges that we're undergoing right now, ESPA testing, and our teachers once again are working through unprecedented challenges for this state mandated administering of this test. And the biggest challenge has been administering it to our students who have chosen to remain DL for this test administration. And we've faced countless amounts of challenges, and teachers have been so resilient with, you know, very little training to administer the test remotely. They have been connecting with parents, training and tutoring parents how to upgrade their system software at home and do all sorts of tech issues to get the kids on for their testing. And so just really want to commend teachers for their effort in getting this done. Our state union lobbied very hard to have these tests negated for this year and not have to put our students through it. But we're all doing the best we can and kind of smiling and getting it done because, you know, it's something that we have to do. But I hope everybody understands the amount of work that teachers are putting in and our students are doing to have to sit through these tests during these times. So teachers are once again rising to the challenge. And I am pleased to say we can report really a return from spring break without any major disruptions, which is also good news for Danbury Public Schools. Some of the things that we want to talk about, some of our concerns are looking at the future for next year. Our state union and our local union, of course, are lobbying fiercely against dual teaching for next year. I don't think I would really have too many people in disagreement that dual teaching, simultaneous teaching of remote students and students in front of you is not sustainable for a long term. And it's not a positive thing for either student or teacher. And nobody really benefits greatly from it. So hopefully our governor will do the right thing. I know there has been some preliminary discussions about eliminating that, and hopefully it'll move forward officially in the coming weeks. That being said, I do want to point out, and something that, you know, perhaps we can have further conversations in the weeks to come. I've been getting some feedback from some members that in some of their observations from supervisors, that they're actually getting written up for not being proficient with dual teaching, which is just unreasonable and unacceptable for something that we learned how to do, or didn't really even learn how to do, just had to start doing less than 3 months ago. So, I hope that's something that we can work towards in the coming weeks, where that won't be happening, and let teachers and students try to get through the last 30 plus days, doing the best they can in the situation that we have in front of us. Another more serious thing that I want to bring to the board's attention tonight is an issue that came about in February, and is something that we've been working through. And we're working with not just the NEA executive board on this. We're working with the Secretaries Union, now the Nurses Union, the Para Union, and we're even having discussions with the Teamsters with this as well. It was an incident that involved the switch over to our payroll, a new payroll and accounting system back in February. And as a result, one of the major problems that arose from this was a transfer made to our HSA accounts and then withdrawn. So what happened for employees is, on their statements, it looked like a direct contribution and then a direct distribution. So why is that important, and why does that matter? Well, that obviously could have very serious tax implications. And we've been working with the district on a remedy for this. And I have to say, working with Kim Thompson and Dr. Sal on this has been wonderful. Big picture, we are very concerned that our finance director did not communicate in a transparent way to employees when this initially happened. Very disappointed that we had to find out kind of by accident about this. And our finance director was very late to the party to try and come up with a remedy for this. So what we're working for right now is making sure that we have assurances from the district that there won't be any financial implications to our employees over this. And we're working with Ms. Thompson to get some documentation to verify that. And she's been great working with us on that. So I just kind of want to put it out there that we work really hard to make sure that communication is always open between our union and our administration. That's something that we've been forging over many, many years. And so it's very important when there are mistakes, and that, listen, we're teachers. We live on trying to, have things rectified and people learn from mistakes. But when mistakes feel like they're being covered up, that is concerning to us. So we wanted to bring that and kind of go on record and bring that to the board's attention, that that's kind of where we're at in this resolution process. And I do want to say, we do not hold Dr. Sal responsible for any of this. And he has been wonderful in trying to help us come to a resolution for this. But I wanted to go on record with that. That being said, the challenges that we face ahead in the months to come with planning for reopening in September will be great. We already know how huge of a task we all have, and we already are kind of talking about how we're going to have no summer yet again, as we're trying to get things in place for our students and our schools next year. So it's really important that, labor and management continue to work together and continue to have that trustworthy relationship together. And I just want to put it out there that as you're discussing selecting Dr. Sal's replacement, NEA would like to be included in the interview process and have a role in that. We really need to have a seat at the table to make sure that the best choice is made for all of our kids and our employees. And I think, having the biggest voice in labor, which, representing almost, what are we up to? Almost 1,000 employees now, Kim, right? So I think, it's really important that, you allow us to have that seat and that voice at the table. Dr. Sal has always strived to keep labor and management working together. And so I hope that we'll continue to be adaptable and flexible and communicate with honesty. I always promise to wrap my remarks up with some good news. You know that we have been lobbying to make sure that our education budget gets fully funded. And we had one rally at the last meeting that I spoke about where Dr. Zaletta joined me in advocating for fully funding the budget. We have another event coming out that we invite everyone to join us at. It is Tuesday, May 4th, so next week at City Hall. The Defenders of Public Education in Danbury are having another rally, a bridge the gap to fully fund Danbury Public Schools. We have a lot of co-sponsors with this event. The Community for Change is joining us. Danbury's NAACP is joining us. Connecticut Students for a Dream are joining us. Danbury Justice Network is joining us. Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation, AFL-CIO, is joining us. And the Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 1622, is also joining us. So the cool thing about this is with each one of these events, our community network is growing, and it's not just the teachers screaming for more money for our schools, it's our entire community. So please get the word out and help us spread the word. I know you're all doing the great work and lobbying for the funding on your end, but if you can lend a voice to our rally, and hopefully Mayor Cavo will take that into consideration as the final decisions are being made for the budget. Thank you so much for listening. And again, happy spring, and hopefully the positivity will continue to grow in the next few weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Aaron.
Mrs. Cooper. Yeah, I've got a comment. I find it appalling that an employee of the district is publicly reprimanded by another employee. We've never had this. We have a code of ethics relative to the comments in the public session. And in my 15 years on a board, I've never heard of anybody being thrown under the bus like this for a mistake that apparently is what's mentioning is a mistake. And then prior to that, asking for pleading for some sort of dual teaching stuff and the errors that they made in order to get there. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but this is unprofessional as far as I'm concerned. This not should be a forum for that. You go through the ranks within the district to the superintendent, and then there is an executive committee if there are other issues, but not to iron this stuff out in a public session. I really don't think this is a forum for it.
May I respond to that, please? Since it's directly to me.
Yes. We're not gonna. We're okay.
I just want to respond, Mr. Janelli. Mr. Janelli.
Comment, please.
Okay.
Mr. Janelli, I just want to say, perhaps background on the information will be given to you at a later date. But we felt that with 2.5 months of working through this and not getting any edification or apology until probably 3 days ago, we felt like it needed to go on public record that we are very concerned about the transparency that has been going on with this one department.
All right.
Could I just say something, please, as chairperson? Mr. Janelli and Aaron, to me, this is not the right place or the time to have this discussion, okay? So.
I'd just like to say that, Chairperson Gladys, if I might, that I stand by the integrity of my work, and I value the relationships tremendously with all the teachers in the district, including you, Aaron. And, you know, I can appreciate the concern. I do hope that I'm able to show how it was rectified, and it was rectified in the quickest manner possible. And, you know, I do hope that, you know, you and I can speak about it in future in greater detail. But I'm saddened to hear this in this forum. I do stand by the integrity of the work I do and the work of my department. And thank you, Gladys, for allowing me to state that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Could we move on to the agenda? Dr. Zaletta?
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I will echo what Aaron said about the students. They've been so adorable. It's really cool to see them kind of in the spring mode. It was so beautiful today, and they were out and they were smiling, and they're getting used to going outside with that mask break and taking it off a little bit. It's been really nice to have more students in the buildings, and we've really enjoyed it. And ESPA is. I want to shout out the administrators who have spent countless hours planning and talking to the state and scheduling when kids are going to take it, when they're not going to take it, who's going to hand out hundreds of more computers. I was just out front handing out computers to our distance learners who have their own computers that can't really use theirs because they need a special website. But we're getting through it as we always do. We'll come out positive on the end. And in true to form, I will be sharing my screen so that tonight I have a presentation that was put together by our K-5 ESL bilingual group headed by Tammy Cordona. And so can you all see the supporting English learners on your screens?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. I'm going to play this now.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So thank you so much for letting me share that with you, and have a great night.
And thank you again for always bringing us good news. Thank you.
Take care.
Any of our students here?
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so some stuff about sports this past month. Congratulations to DJ Donovan and Anna Rita Lynch for being named the CX Scholar Athletes for 2021. They'll be awarded in early May. The DHS hockey team took the Division III championship at the Southwest Conference, which is great. Spring sports are also in full effect with the baseball, softball, volleyball, lacrosse, and tennis teams playing home and away games every day. So now about some more school-related things. The Chipotle fundraiser organized recently was a success. We appreciate the PTO so much. DHS, in partnership with Community Health Center, Inc., is offering vaccinations to eligible seniors. Many students have gotten their first dose of vaccine already. The class of 2021 met yesterday to take senior class pictures and leave a nice memento in the form of a handprint on the blue wall near the gym entrance due to the hard work of the PTO. It was an asynchronous learning day and the juniors took their SAT. We wish them good scores and good rest today. Many seniors are also committing to college and we couldn't be more happy for them. On April 19th to the 23rd, students took their Connecticut Seal of Biliteracy test, which is a fantastic opportunity. The date for prom is May 28th from 7 p.m. to midnight at the Amber Room, and tickets will be sold next week. The senior trip will be Friday, June 4th to Six Flags New England. Hopefully students will be able to get a semblance of their senior year back. Graduation planning is also underway, which is a great feat. And that is all I have for you. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Does any board members have any question for Jay? No. Okay. Thank you again, Jay. Do we have anyone from ACE?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Board of Ed members, cabinet and community members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center for Excellence. ACE students participated in the 53rd annual Danbury Cultural Commission Poetry Contest. Congratulations to Sabrina Carvalho for being awarded third place in the contest. The Danbury Cultural Commission will hold the awards ceremony on May 20th. The ACE 2021 graduation ceremony will take place on Wednesday, June 10th at the Broadview Auditorium at 3 p.m. A special thanks to Eddie Thomas and the hospitality of the Broadview team for allowing us to use their auditorium to be able to provide a graduation experience for our students, families, and staff. Planning for the ACE Renaissance Fair is underway. This day of student engagement is being led by English teacher Daniela Esposito and social studies teacher Kyle Chicola. English teacher Melissa Lasky and social studies teacher Robin Melillo are beginning a Q4 Humanities collaborative project exploring how popular culture has impacted our society with the English 3 and U.S. history students. A Romeo and Juliet virtual field trip was coordinated and organized by Daniela Esposito to take place on Monday, April 26th. The opportunity was offered to 52 ACE students. Thank you, Daniela. The 18th annual ACE Coffee House is being organized by English teacher Joanne Tolles and her poetry students and will be held on Thursday, June 3rd. ACE will be hosting a Spring Career Day on May 21st with virtual guest speakers to present careers that serve the community. This special day is being organized by Diana DiNardo and DJ Jimenez. Lastly, ACE would like to publicly acknowledge and congratulate our most recent students of the week, Kaylee Cottrell and Jacob Miner. Keep up the great work, you two. Thank you for allowing me to share the great things happening with the ACE family this spring. Stay safe, everyone, and remain ACE strong.
Thank you, Chris. Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Amy, would you do action item A?
Sure. I make a motion, this is high school graduation date. I make a motion that the Board of Education set the high school graduation date as June 10th, 2021, with a rain date on June 11th, 2021. Multiple ceremonies will be held due to COVID-19.
Motion made by Amy. Could I hear a
I'll se-
second?
I'll second.
Second.
If the board wishes, I think Dan is here. He could,
Yes, if he wants to speak on the graduation, yes.
Dan?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I know last time we were here, Dr. Martins came on. Sorry I couldn't make it, and talked about what our plan was as far as getting information from our parents and students. So we sent out a survey. We had 500 responses to that survey, 370, which is a little less than half the students in the graduating class responded to it. We talked about 3 options that we were going to give them. One was the whole class out there with live streamed and no guests. The second option was the drive up, similar to what we did last year with looser guidelines now that we have. And the third was multiple ceremonies on the field. And 53% of the parents and students chose the multiple one to have on the field. So we were planning on going with 3, but now changes from the government stuff will allow us to do 2 ceremonies on June 10th, one at 2 o'clock and one at 5 o'clock. The orange cohort will go at 5, and each guest, it'll also be live streamed, but each graduate will receive 4 tickets, bringing us to about 1,600 spectators in the stands, which is, we're allowed to all been dotted 3 feet apart, and masks will still be worn unless something changes. I know continued. There's been a lot of talk about the senior events. You know, we just had a pretty cool day the other day, Tuesday, when the juniors were taking the SATs, where we had a great number, probably close to about 550 juniors came into the building and took the SAT. You know, we had to take 60 some odd rooms, so we only put 10 to a room. We had to do an accept the seniors in. We had about 380-ish seniors in 3 different waves come in, somewhat of a graduation picture, those ones that you see at the entrance of DHS. And then they would go down onto the field, and we set up the 2-0-2-1, and that group would take the 2, the next group would take the 0, and that group would move down. The PTO did an outstanding job of getting the mural for Giuseppe, who is a West Side arts teacher. We had them come out, they did hands, and they all put their hands on the wall. So it was a pretty great day to see the kids. You know, it was very well organized by my administration team, and a special thank you to, you know, Mr. Porcelli, who was out there taking it for the yearbook. The picture will not be in the yearbook because the yearbook is already out, but look for ways out to then do what they want with it. Dr. Obry, who now picture them together, socially distanced, and now he's doing his photo to try to look. Who's does all the work for you all here, who took a awesome drone picture of the 2021 at different times, and then pasted them all together, which we'll get out to the seniors, the class officers, not the class officers, but the class advisors of Miss Gurney, Miss Mesinovic, who helped organize this whole thing, and our staff that was out there. It was a great day, and you know, it was to bring a little normalcy back toward our senior events. I've been working very closely with Kathy O'Dowd in discussing what we can and can't do, and you know, it's the prom coming up on the 28th is at the Amber Room. We have a meeting with them to discuss how many students can go, following their guidelines of what they have to do as a business with you know, tents outside and things like that. We're looking to have a senior fest, our Six Flags trips, movie night for them, and then the graduations. You know, both graduations, that is up to the board. We figured do a 2 o'clock. It's not going to be as long as it normally is because we're not going to spend 35, 40 minutes saying names. It'll be half of that. So I imagine graduations are going to be about an hour and 20 minutes long for each one. The middle school graduation is June 9th. They are doing their 3 schools up on our field as well. So we tagged it together with them on the 9th, us on the 10th, and then rain dates as it goes through after that. So that's how it all came about.
Thank you. Does any board member have any question for Mr. Donovan?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Donovan, can you just repeat the times for each cohort? It was breaking up on my end. I don't know if it was for everybody else.
I'm sorry, 2 o'clock for the blue cohort and 5 o'clock for the orange cohort.
Great. And everybody gets 2 guests, you said?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Donovan, once your schedule is set, can you make sure that all that schedule is set to the board members, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
There'll be areas for the board to park and just as we've had in the past.
Mhm.
If you don't have any questions about that, I want to ask Mr. Donovan something. Mr. Donovan, did I hear someone getting some award from your family?
My son won the CIAC, or it was the CIAC Scholar Athlete of the Year for Danbury High School.
Congratulations, must be a proud.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment for the board. I know, just briefly, it's been a very tough year. And Dan has been trying in so many ways to make it as normal as possible. And it's been a yeoman effort in many ways. I just want to thank him for doing this because it will make the end of the year a little more special for them. As I said in the commercial, you're going to give them a shot at a better year. And I'm so proud of us being able to do that. So thank you, Dan.
My pleasure.
There's no questions. We can go to the next item.
Or do the roll call.
Oh, yeah, approved. Thank you.
This is off screen. I apologize. Joe Britton,
Yes.
Rachel Chalesky,
Aye.
Kate Canetta, aye. We'll skip Gladys. Joe De Silva,
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson,
Aye.
Rich Janelli,
Aye.
Kathy Molinaro,
Aye.
Al Russo,
Aye.
Amy Spallino.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Action item B. Rachel, I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts as the policy chair about whether or not we should be reading these whole entire paragraphs, or Kim, perhaps you could chime in on that.
Yes, I've read them every year.
All right. How do you feel about reading them this year?
Go for it, Kate.
All right. I'll make a motion that pursuant to CGS section 10-215F, the Board of Education or governing authority certifies that all food items offered for sale to student in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
Seconded by Catherine.
Okay. I'll do a quick roll call. Joe Britton,
Yes.
Rachel Chalesky,
Aye.
Kate Canetta, aye. Joe De Silva,
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson,
Aye.
Rich Janelli,
Aye.
Kathy Molinaro,
Aye.
Al Russo,
Aye.
Amy Spallino.
Aye.
All right, the motion so carries. Thank you. Rachel, do you want to take that second motion under action item B?
Sure. I'll make a motion regarding food exemptions. The Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food sales.
Thank you, Rachel.
Seconded by Catherine.
Seconded by Catherine. Thank you. I'll do a quick, any discussion? Okay, we'll go into roll call. Joe Britton,
Yes.
Rachel Chalesky,
Yes.
Kate Canetta, aye. Joe De Silva,
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson,
Aye.
Rich Janelli,
Aye.
thank you. Kathy Molinaro,
Aye.
Al Russo,
Aye.
Amy Spallino.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Joe De Silva, could you read the third motion under action item B, please?
Yes, just give me one, one moment to bring up the agenda.
Okay.
I'll read it if you want me to.
Thank you, Catherine. If you would pinch hit for me, that'd be awesome.
Thanks,
Okay.
Catherine.
I'll make a motion for exemptions for beverages. The Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sale to students of beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. 3, the beverages are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence, is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. The school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the beverage sales.
All right, thank you for that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Any discussion? All right, Joe Britton,
Aye.
Rachel Chalesky,
Aye.
Kate Canetta, aye. Joe De Silva,
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson,
Aye.
Rich Janelli,
Aye.
Kathy Molinaro,
Aye.
Al Russo,
Aye.
Amy Spallino.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That motion carries. All right, we're up to action item C. Joe Britton.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair. I would like to make a motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 9273, conflict of interest, as recommended by the policy committee.
All right, do I hear a
Second.
second?
Seconded by Catherine.
Okay, Catherine, you get the second there. Any discussion or comments?
Yeah, I got a comment, Kate.
Go ahead, Rich.
Question. Yeah. It's called a conflict of interest, yet when you read through this, I mean, it wouldn't be my interpretation of any conflicts of interest. Is that just an inappropriate wording, or am I just not understanding the text?
Rachel, did you want to speak to that?
Trying to pull it up here. Hold on.
Sorry, Rich, I'm just also pulling this up on my screen here. Appreciate your patience.
Simplistically, I think a conflict of interest would be, if you had an employee and as a board member or teacher or something, if it was possible, that would be a conflict, but these just seem to be guidelines. I mean, it's not saying, it's a moot point, but it just.
Well, it's a civility code.
Yeah, that I could understand, Rachel, but conflict
And
of interest.
also meeting protocol.
It does specify in parts of the document, that you cannot take private action that will compromise the board and the administration. You have to conduct business in an open, transparent manner. I think there are components of that, but Rachel, obviously you as the chair for that committee, maybe we want to bring that back for discussion.
We don't pick the caption.
Yeah.
The caption came from Cade, but we don't pick the caption.
Yeah, well.
And it's pretty uniform across all boards. I mean, the numeration and
yeah. So okay.
The titles are.
Thank you. Don't waste any more time. Yep. Thanks, Rachel.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Joe Britton.
Aye.
Rachel Chalesky.
Aye.
Kate Canetta. Aye. Joe De Silva.
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson.
Aye.
Rich Janelli.
Aye.
Kathy Molinaro.
Aye.
Al Russo.
Aye.
Amy Spallino.
Aye.
Motion carries. Action item D. Joe, do you have that up now, or shall I move on to something else? I'm sorry. I caught you again. I'm sorry.
No, I was just on mute. I have it.
Okay. Thank you.
Action item D. Motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 9300, methods of operation as recommended by the policy committee, 21-62 and page 41 in our packet.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Rachel. Any questions? Seeing none. Joe Britton.
Aye.
Rachel Chalesky.
Aye.
Kate Canetta. Aye. Joe De Silva.
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson.
Aye.
Rich Janelli.
Aye.
Kathy Molinaro.
Aye.
Thank you. Al Russo.
Aye.
Amy Spallino.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Amy, could you read for action item E, please?
Yes, I make a motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 9321, Board of Education work sessions as recommended by the policy committee, 21-63, page 42.
Thank you, Amy. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thanks, Joe Britton. Any questions or comments?
I just want to make a comment that policy 9321 is already established, but the Board of Education workshop sessions, it should read, is 93212. I know that bylaw 43 was included as reference. And I just want to also make a point that in that bylaw that we're not approving because it's already existing for us, just that there is no city clerk any longer, that there's a town clerk. So I don't know if we can make that that simple just word change in that bylaw that kind of precludes the workshop sessions portion of this.
I don't have it in, it does, Rachel. I have a question. I don't have it in front of me. What was the city clerk referenced for? Was that for a notice?
It was just a notice of meetings, yes.
Kim, can we substitute town clerk for city clerk in that instance, since we don't have a city clerk anymore?
Without having to remove
Right.
it, yeah, I think I would call that a Scrivener's error, maybe.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure that the town clerk's the appropriate governmental official to get the notice in the absence of a city clerk.
I would need to check. Yes,
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay. Then yes, then I think Rachel's right. I think we should make that change.
So there's a motion on the floor here with the second, and that correction that we're talking about will come back on the second read. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
So I'll do a roll call for the accepting of the first read here. Joe Britton.
Aye.
Rachel Chalesky.
Aye.
Kate Canetta. Aye. Joe De Silva.
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson.
Aye.
Rich Janelli.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Molinaro.
Aye.
Thanks, Kathy. Al Russo.
Aye.
Amy Spalino.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Motion carries. Al, can you read action item F for me, please?
Action item F, 2-13, administrative regulations, formulation, adoption, and amendment. Exhibit 21-64, page 42. Motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 9313, administrative regulations, formulation, adoption, and amendment as recommended by the policy committee.
May I have a second on that, please?
Second.
Joe De Silva got that one. Any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none. Joe Britton.
Aye.
Rachel Gillespie.
Aye.
Kate Canetta, aye. Joe De Silva.
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson.
Aye. Rich
Janelli.
Yes.
Kathy Molinaro.
Aye.
Al Russo.
Aye.
Amy Spalino.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We are down to action item G. Amy, could you read that one, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the March 2021 operating results and analysis, general funds, grant projects in accordance with, let's see, we have exhibit 21-65 on page 47.
Thank you very much.
Left off
Second.
there. Okay.
Joe De Silva's got the second there. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Joe Britton.
Aye.
Rachel Gillespie.
Aye.
Kate Canetta. Aye. Joe De Silva.
Aye.
Catherine Hodgson.
Aye.
Rich Janelli.
Yes.
Kathy Molinaro.
Aye.
Al Russo.
Yes.
Amy Spalino.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Gladys, we've just taken care of all of the action items there, so we're at item number 10 on the agenda here.
Okay, just go ahead and complete that. Thank you for carrying the meeting. I had a little accident.
No problem at all. So the academy model is under item 10. I don't know if that goes to Dr. Casimiro.
Yes. Dr. Casimiro, we have a presentation. I know we've talked about this before, but it's starting to come together. Just for the board's background, the ed specs, we had some drafts that we sent over to the city, and I guess they'll work through what they need to do operationally, and then obviously it'll come back to the board and to relook at the specs. But what you're going to see tonight is sort of the dream that and the reality starting to come together in terms of on paper and some possibilities. So with that, Kara, can you please?
Thank you, Dr. Sell. Thank you, board. Just to preface this presentation just a little bit, I just want to let you know I'm having some laptop issues. My laptop is not holding the charge. I'm on 7%. I'm going to give this my all and make it a nice, succinct presentation. And I do have a backup plan. Kelly will help me out, and I'll call in from my phone to kind of walk through it if I happen to die before this is over. So let me pull up the presentation. So we've been on quite a journey together this year with regards to, and even last year with regards to the idea and the concept of an academy model. And I can't tell you how thankful and proud that I am of the board, high school administration, middle school administration, central office staff that have really come together to support this new vision. I feel like we have education angels out there, I keep calling them, that have been having some wonderful conversations and planting seeds all over, not just the district, but now the community. And there's a lot of great chatter about this in terms of providing opportunities for students and making sure that we're well positioned for the future, and that our students are going to be ready for even 21st century and beyond. So I just want to thank everybody for their involvement. This is really just a summary to kind of wrap. There's several more, several more presentations between the portrait of the graduate work and the graduation requirements and a few others that I'll talk about towards the end of the presentation. But as we're kind of nearing the end of the year, and with the approval and passing of the academy at the council level, we just wanted to kind of give a short wrap about where we are with the work and what are the next steps. So I want to remind everybody about the vision and mission that was adopted by the community, by the board, and by all of our stakeholders. I went back and I was looking at the words on here, and they really kind of resonated with the work that has happened this year. So Danbury Public Schools aspires to advance all learners to their highest potential, and the Danbury Public Schools, in partnership with families and the community, provides transformational learning experiences designed to nurture thoughtful and prepared graduates. And I think that there is a large group of us that have really taken this vision and mission to heart when it was revised, and really thinking through what does that look like in our school system, and how do we make good on this promise. And I believe that the career academies and this movement at the secondary level will deliver on that. So just a reminder of those who may be joining or watching a board member for the first time, the board presentation for the first time tonight. And a career academy concept is a design. It's a concept to prepare students for both college and careers. They are connected together. This is really about career connected learning for all. There's schools within the schools that link students with peers, teachers, and community partners in a structured environment that fosters academic success. The three hallmarks or key elements of a career academy concept are a small learning community. So how do we take our very large high school and make it personalized? I know there were some comments about overcrowding. We hear that all the time in the Danbury Public School system, and that is true. And there are some ways to mitigate that. Several years ago, with the idea of the 9th grade academy, the idea was to take that very first transitional year, which is very critical, and to break it down into a smaller learning community, and to really build relationships with students, focus on social emotional work, and to make sure that our students and teachers are able to cover some things that are unique to 9th graders and learners. And Danbury High School has done an amazing job with developing that model out. The Career Academy and the pathways take that to the next level. It's kind of small learning community 2.0. In addition to the small learning community, this is about college preparation through the form of sequential curriculum, and it has a career theme. So this is not just about careers. We are preparing students for college with an added bonus of helping them to focus in on a career and explore that career, and learn what it is that they like for themselves, and to be able to make more informed choices in the future. Another part of the Career Academy concept is this advisory board. That's very critical. We saw this down in Nashville. We've learned about another school system out in Nebraska, one that we hope to visit in the near future, that is actually supposed to be maybe even doing a little bit of a better job in some areas than Nashville. But this idea that there's an advisory board that's consists of community members, business partnerships, strategic partners to help us, employers, higher education, so with WestCon and local institutions in the community, to help us build these programs together, so that there's a feedback loop and a cycle of information that continually improves the career academies. Okay. This has been presented a few times, but this is the academy organizational structure. So while the building has been called at the summit has been called the Career Academy, this is really about the academies at Danbury High School. And the summit location will house 2 of those academies, and those are highlighted in the black outlined circles here. So all students will go up to Danbury High School and attend Danbury High School and participate in the 9th grade career and college academy. I have a slide that kind of outlines what happens during that time period. But we will have 6 academies overall. Again, these 2 that are highlighted are the ones that will be at the summit. So we will have the Academy of Information, Technology and Cybersecurity. And you can see the pathways that are slated for this academy here. Some of these can be amended as we continue to push through and work through these programs and pathways. We may amend some of these to make sure that we're bringing the most advantageous curriculum to our students that provides the greatest level of opportunity for the future. We have the Academy of Professional and Public Services. You can see those pathways. Our Academy of Scientific Innovation and Medicine, which we're really concentrating very heavily on right now, as well as the Academy of Global Enterprise and Economics. Those will really need to be fleshed out first, but we also have to bring these other ones online almost simultaneously. But these are the 2 that we're focusing on. And these are actually going to serve as sort of a test model for development of the other academies. We have the Academy of Art, Engineering, and Design, and the Academy of Communications and Design. And again, there's a large amount of STEM focused pathways that are here, but also some others, perhaps more in the humanities and the service industries and leadership. So we're very excited that we are able to offer, or will be offering many different pathways that will surely pique the majority of our students' interests. So we are excited about that. So the 9th grade career academy, when students come up to Danbury High School, everyone comes on the main campus. Part of the kind of the hallmark of the career academy is really this focus on this 1 semester exploratory course that will focus on team building, career and pathway research. So what do all of these pathways, what can all of these offer? What are the careers that are connected with these pathways? What are the earnings potential? What kind of education do you have to get to attain these? Does that happen at a 2-year technical school? Does it happen at a 4-year school? Can it happen at either? What are the on-roads and off-ramps with the different career trajectories within these pathways as well? There's a focus on organizational and employability skills. How do you function in the workplace? So there's some workplace learning. And then the idea that there's a digital literacy and also financial literacy. So as students are learning about different careers, we put them through their paces of understanding what it takes in the real world to in terms of income, in terms of running households, in terms of what types of futures that they can have with different options. There is a career exploration fair. This we saw that this was one of a very important component to in Nashville. This is a very big deal. They had hundreds and hundreds of folks coming in, industry professionals representing all different types of career pathways that would come in, and there was booths and kids had an opportunity to talk and interview and ask questions for some pathways that they may be interested in. And then of course, an opportunity to visit at the college, certain colleges at college level. So making sure that students actually get their feet on campus and they feel what that is like, and they begin to see themselves down these pathways and heading in down these roads. So beyond let's move my toolbar out of the way. So beyond the academics, so clearly students will still be taking their college preparatory, there's advanced placements, all of those opportunities will still exist. But in addition to that, beyond the academics, there are other preparations that come along with the college and with the the academy model. Again, we talked a little bit about 9th grade, and that focus would be on college careers, college fairs and college visits. They participate in an exploration course and they eventually choose their pathway in the spring, and they apply to a pathway under a particular academy that is usually happens by a lottery process. So students identify what pathways they're interested in, first choice, second choice, third choice, and then they get placed in the lottery for selection to those. I know there's a lot of questions around what happens if they don't get in, and those are all answers, good questions and answers that will develop sort of the if-then on-roads and off-ramps of how to get into a pathway and what happens if you want to leave. Those are all to be developed in the near future. Grade 10 industry field trips and guest speakers. So try to get students out and to see some of these, what it looks like in the workplace, in the pathways and the academies that they have chosen, and to bring folks in to have conversations about what it is that they do and what makes their job special, or what are the hallmarks and features of their job. Students will at this point have at least one foundational course in their area in addition to the normal gen ed kind of core requirements. And so they'll get a little taste of the pathway, but it's also wrapped around these great discussions and experiences that they have in their academy area. 11th grade, the goal is to do some job shadowing if possible. Get kids out, or we can do some virtual job shadowing as well. There are some opportunities. Students would again kind of dabble in the next level of electives that would be offered in their pathway. So usually there's about 2 or 3 courses, so it could be 4 in a pathway sequence. So it's not like students are in 10 or 12 elective courses. Over the course of their 4 years, they will take a progressive sequence of pathway electives, eventually leading to grade 12, where they'll complete a capstone project and potentially an internship. The capstone is something now as part of the graduation requirements for all of the students in Connecticut. And so this would tie in nicely with opportunities for students to work with the advanced pathway electives. So for example, an advanced engineering course could be the course that a student chooses to do their capstone project in. So there's opportunities for all of this to be interdisciplinary and very meaningful, and to happen in areas that the students have selected. So the students have chosen these areas and that they're highly invested in the outcomes. This also looks great, by the way, for applications for colleges, being very competitive. I had an amazing interview with 2 students, well, actually, they're 2 female engineers, no longer UConn students, that work at Medtronics. Medtronics is one of the largest, if not the largest, medical technology device producer in the world. They are in over 150 different countries. Well, they hire exclusively in Connecticut from UConn for their biomedical engineering program. So that's one of the pathways that we'll have. And one of the things that they told me that was critical when they not only got into UConn, but in order to kind of be competitive with their specific program in the biomedical engineering, that they liked to see that they had already had done projects in the high school that put them through the design thinking process, where they went from the idea generation stage all the way to production of a prototype, and that they had experience with that. They've entered competitions, and all of these types of things within the academy will prepare students for that level of competitiveness. Regardless of if they want to choose that or not, they will have had some amazing experiences with capstone and working with some advanced projects within their pathways. And just to give the board and folks maybe at home and some of our teachers who I know have already begun to ask a lot of questions and get very excited about this, Dan and Meg at the high school did a great presentation to kind of articulate the vision and where we're going. But here we are in terms of the phases. So we're going to be busy for the next couple of years. Looks like some of my bullets jumped out of place here, but that's okay. So this year was really all about, down in phase 1, all really about concept development and planning. So what could this look like? What should it look like? How would we use the building that has been secured by the board and by the city? And how do we make the best use of that? Seeking board approval this year to make sure that the direction of the academy is what is wanted. We definitely felt the level of support, not just with the board, but now with the community, and now the staff is getting, we've got some pretty excited staff members that are asking lots of questions. The ed specs are obviously being developed and are in their final stages. There will be some continued tweaks as we visit some programs. For example, I'm going to be getting up to UConn and taking a few folks up to see their biomedical engineering lab, to see if we could build a lab, what do we want it to look like, and what are the critical components and any materials or equipment that we might need to make sure that our students have good training, have good access. We've engendered some great community support, and we're going to be doing a lot of something called academic positioning. So taking stock of the current courses that we have that can serve this model well, and then maybe having to, question some others, right? And so what are the courses that need to fall under these pathways and programs? What will best serve our students in their future? So we'll be doing a lot of, delving into our current curriculum and working to kind of bring some things online. Phase 2, which is in the 21-22 school year, we're going to start with some central office and administrative training. Some of that has already begun and will begin this summer, working on budget development for these academies and programs. I do want to point out, I know there were some concerns about, what is this going to cost? We are still building, regardless of if we do academy model or we open up a traditional high school, we still have to open up a school. So it's, the same amount of staff that you need for a 1,400 student school. Traditional school is the same staff you're going to need to open up an academy because it's still 1,400 students. So you still need teachers, you still need administrators, you still need nurses, and so on. So we have to do that anyways. The students are here, and we are going to not just help the overcrowding issue that we have to address our growing enrollment, but we're also going to provide some incredible kick butt programming for our kids. So there is a budget to that, and that will be developed as we start to push on the details of all these plans, moving from the concept to the actual design and implementation. We'll start some teacher professional development next year, mostly around project-based learning and really involving teachers in the design and the development of some of these pathways. The following year in phase 3, continue lots of teacher training, partnership development, really reaching out into the community. So we will have 24 different pathways. All of those will need to have partners that will not only provide expertise, but also potentially some funding, which will be wonderful. And then this is really where a lot of systems change and alignment starts to kick in. So really pushing on the way that we used to do things, kind of breaking down status quo and re-envisioning the way that we formulate all of our systems, I guess, if you will, how we schedule things, the way that we approach master scheduling and development, the way that we approach, how students move through and complete the graduation requirements. So it's going to involve some really mindset shifts and some changing. And we're, again, working on some of that this summer will be beneficial for the team to kind of understand what lies ahead and what levers we need to push to forward this. This is also the year that we're really going to be focusing on grade 9, because the next year in grade 4, we have to implement the grade 9 college and career exploration curriculum. So there'll be a lot of work with teachers, especially 9th grade teachers, on how to deliver this, what's important, where's the focus, and what is it that makes the hallmark for grade 9. And then again, in phase 4, this will be the first year where the 9th grade will get that curriculum, and those students will begin their spring academy selection process. And then at the same time, once that process is complete, we'll begin with a new master schedule development for the spring of 2024. So it'll be very exciting. There's a tremendous amount of work that lies in between, in particular, phase 3 and phase 4 to get this off the ground. And then in phase 5, that is our opening. 10th graders will go to their chosen academies and pathways, and we'll continue with the professional development for all. I don't want to forget the middle school component in all of this. We're going to be working on really developing this out rather soon. This is a much smaller group, 360 kids, not any less important, but a little bit at a smaller scale in terms of the academy. And so once we sort of get some lift off with the academy model itself, which is quite extensive, we're going to be focusing next year early on to really make sure that we're designing out this middle school component well. So there's tons of action planning happening in the background. So the group at Danbury High School, myself, central office, we met to do some action planning with the NECAC folks. Those are the architects from the Nashville group. And they really pushed us through the beginning development of an action plan or draft plan to keep us honest and hold us to a timetable. This is just a little snapshot of page 1 of a 14-page document that we've already started. This is one of several action plans that need to be developed as we go. We have graduation requirements, we have portrait of the graduate, we have a lot of curriculum work ahead of us. We'll be, we've often referenced financial braiding of our finances. Well, there's going to be a lot of braiding coming up very soon this summer and all of next year, talking about the portrait of the graduate work, our curricular work, our professional development and training, the academy model, and then the backwards design of how this changes our school system and what are the student outcomes that we expect at each level to make sure that we're graduating our students with this vision that we have, that they're well prepared and that they're ready for the world. So what are we working on right now? It's just sort of the immediate things that we're doing. We're in the process of last minute adjustments to the graduation requirements to meet the new vision. The high school team will be, along with some of our central office folks, will be presenting on that in one of the upcoming board meetings very soon. A lot of the graduation flexibilities will kind of be visible in these graduation requirement changes. We're going to be identifying the courses that go along with these and how to align those to the portrait of the graduate, and then begin action planning on all of that. There's a lot of NECAC training, that's the National College and Career Coalition, and we have a pretty intensive summer schedule with the master schedule development. It's different than how we traditionally do it, and it involves a lot of shifting and a lot of understanding. August, we're going to be working on the program and pathway development, again supported by folks from NECAC and people who work directly with Nashville and that other school I talked about from Grand Island in Nebraska. And then September, we'll start with some project-based learning, and so how to shift traditional learning to more hands-on, more experiential, more interdisciplinary learning, and to make sure that we have key components in our curriculum and start to gradually build those over time between now and when we expect to open, so that we are practicing these things and we're learning and we're getting training in advance of moving in this direction, so that we're well prepared and that folks feel confident and that the teachers are heavily involved in the development of this as well, which is really important. Positioning of alignment in courses, I spoke a little bit about that, developing the electives, trying to push through all the industry credentials, what it takes to achieve that. We have a great head start on that, but there's a lot of work involved. And again, developing our industry partnerships and working with some consultation on course development, so bringing in engineers. So how do we circle back to those two engineers from Medtronics to help us inform some of our curriculum and the types of things that students need to learn to be successful? And then development, our grade 9 course. And then again, just final adjustments to the ed specs. I did reach out to Antonio and Jay just to make sure I could make a few minor adjustments, nothing to the footprint of what was everyone saw, but more along the lines of further delineating the design descriptions of those rooms. So what do we want those labs to look like, and making sure we have the right equipment in there. So as we visit other sites and talk to professionals and folks who have academies or pathways here and there that have developed, I'm asking for things like what's the critical equipment? If there's 2 pieces of equipment that you need to have in a CNA program, which we already have, or an engineering program, what's a non-negotiable, and making sure that those get into our ed specs so that when it comes time to develop or when we design these rooms, that there's a full understanding of what needs to be in there for this to really be done well, and not just the bare basics. And so I'm getting ready to wrap here, but part of that ed spec on paper development is really how do you take a vision and capture it on a piece of paper so that someone else can interpret your vision and bring it to life. And so the idea, we've spent a lot of time talking about what we want these learning spaces to look like. And while we have a lot of classrooms that look like this, and there's always a time and a place, and there's always spaces where this is a pretty traditional looking classroom and setup, there's certainly room and balance for some additional spaces that we think will be a little bit more enticing. This is obviously a snapshot of our concept at the matrix, or at the summit, I should say. And so when we think of learning spaces, these are some of the pictures that we showed some of the architects that we worked with prior to say, look, this is what we wanted to see happen. We want to see classrooms that look differently. We want to make sure that there's equipment in there that is representative and simulated of what students would experience so they get a real sense of what's happening. Bringing in, this is an example of some specialized equipment, which is called, I always say it wrong, it's an animatage table or anatomatage table. There's over 3,000 virtual dissection and examination capabilities with this that are absolutely unbelievable. They have 2 of these up at UConn that they use with the medical students and the nursing students. And these are the types of things we want our students to be utilizing. You know, how is what are what's the equipment and what kinds of activities do we see when we walk into a room? What are kids doing? Are they working in groups? Are they actually with hands on? Are they experimenting? Are they testing things out? Are they formulating hypotheses? Are they generating ideas? What is happening? And so, you know, we're definitely envisioning very active learning. This was another example of some learning spaces that we said, you know, this is what we want our learning spaces to look like. We want them to be exciting, not just for the students, but also for the teachers as well. So just some out of the box, non-traditional. These are what we used when we started to talk about some of the concepts. There's going to be a greenhouse at the top of the summit for our environmental students. And what a better way to dig into that than to start working on real life, real world projects and problems. So this would be something that, you know, we tried to bring that our business side to life. And what would that look like? What type of equipment and programming would they need? So I will leave you with some of those exciting learning spaces, things that we will continue to flesh out. We're going to be bringing all of this together in the near future very soon and really digging deep on the details. You'll be hearing from, again, the high school team on the portrait of the graduate and the graduation requirements. All of these things are intricately tied together to kind of make this happen. And then I'll stop talking because I am down to 5%, which is not bad. But again, I want to thank the board. I want to thank the high school team and central office and the community, as well as our city council and all of our representatives for their full support on this. I think this is going to be amazing. And I think that there's a lot of tremendous people involved in making this happen. So we will provide more details and updates probably in the fall. Of course, you can continue to email me with any questions that you have.
Madam Chair, I'm sure there would be, but we will come. We have quite an agenda left, but I just want to thank Kara for this. We have the ed specs that are going to kind of match the functions here that'll come back to you before we leave in July, so in June. So you'll be seeing those specs that relate to these. So thank you very much, Kara. If board members have questions, if you can just shoot them to Kara, she can answer them for you. So thank you very much, Kara, for a great presentation.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report.
Yes, let me just start. I was going to have Courtney do, but I think it's more general than anything here. The city and state budget, I believe next week the city is going to vote on their budget. I did talk to Mr. Cavo. There's a nexus to the conjunction here about the state budget. I understand, and I just talked to Brian Bigham again. He's our lobbyist. Coming out of the education committee, they've restored some of our ECS funding, which is terrific. And I'm trying to get a fix on the exact amount, but I think it was a specialized $5 million at this point that was reinstituted in there. And according to Joe in my conversation, if money comes through there, he fully expects to pass it through to the Board of Ed, as Mark had done to you. So I was really happy to hear that. Timing may be an issue, only because I understand, and maybe you guys know better than I. We approve our budget next week. I mean, the town doesn't. I think June, I want to say 7th or 8th, maybe, the governor budget gets approved in Hartford. So there is some timing issues. But anyway, Joe did want me to convey that to you, that that money comes through, it'll be passed through to the board, which is good news. And so all of the folks that have been lobbying and writing letters, it's made a difference. So I thank you for that. I'll just move through here because I want to get to the reopening. Ellsworth project, nothing big except that we got approval to go out to bid. So as of a few weeks, Ann and Richard and the group down there will be moving out, but they're getting ready to put out bids so we can start that project, which is exciting. I have Kathy here. Kathy, really quick, could you update the board on the vaccination project?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Sal. Good evening, everyone. This past weekend, the 24th and 25th, we again had the opportunity to extend the invitation for vaccinations, not only to some of our staff and families, but to students as well. We started the project with partnering, of course, with our health department, Danbury Hospital, and the Community Health Center to offer vaccines at the Danbury Mall. A special thanks to Amy Taylor at the Community Health Center. She made this such an easy process for us. It was as simple as sending out a link to our students. We started with seniors, and once that was accessed, we opened it up to 16 years and up. And then we still had spots available where we were able to offer it to families, staff who had not yet been vaccinated. So it was very successful. So their second appointments have automatically been scheduled. So by the end of May, I don't have exact numbers back from the Community Health Center yet, but I know that we had close to 600 spots filled. So that's a very positive thing for our district moving forward.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for your leadership there. Frank, are you with us, Dr. LaBanca?
I am.
Could you, we've been thinking about this, what, Frank, 2 years?
5 years, I think, actually.
How they go by.
When the West Side Middle School Academy was established, we followed the lottery process that the AIS school was using. AIS lottery was taking place in January and ours took place in February. I think one of the realizations we found is that it's very challenging to conduct a lottery for a middle school that late in the school year, mainly because the process, some districts have entire offices dedicated to choice programs. And we run that outside of the through the assistant superintendent's office. And so the process of having well over 1,000 students every year apply for the lottery, and then going through the process of accepting students and seeing if they want to accept the seats that they've won through the lottery takes a great deal of time. We've only finished the lottery process just a couple of weeks ago. So for our lottery that took place in February, we were just wrapping up the process now and getting all the names in. And at a middle school level, that poses a great deal of challenges for preparing for the next school year. There are a lot of things that are different in a middle school in terms of scheduling students, ensuring that we have the appropriate staffing and so on. So it's been my recommendation that we move that lottery from February to November in order to facilitate really more opportunities for students ultimately, because the lottery process takes place so late that some people get their seat late in the process, they choose not to take it. And so giving that opportunity to students earlier in the year will, first of all, administratively make the process be much smoother. And then secondarily, I think for students, it gives more people the opportunity to make the choice at an earlier time. So I made that recommendation to the central office that we move that lottery process to November to make the process more efficient.
We can do that. We'll just put in our operational plan. It just, I think Frank hit it on those. It permits youngsters to more access. And that's what the board's always wanted. We always wanted. So I thank Frank for his leadership. So we'll probably make sure we get it on the calendar. We will publicize it because it is a change, but we fully support that. Probably should have done it, as Frank said, a few years ago. We simply did it because we always had AIS, then we had the STEM. It just doesn't work for the middle school. So with that, I finished my report.
Madam Chair, when would that change take place? Are you looking to do that next year?
Next year.
Next year. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to ask the board members have any questions to Dr. Sarah, Dr. LaBlanca. Okay, so
before we go on, then should just so you know, yesterday afternoon, maybe 5 o'clock, we received a memo from the state, which is relative to our next conversation. The remote learning that took place this year by giving everybody option will not be an option that we'll be required to give. So that is out of the equation officially. We've been waiting for the state to make a commitment And they finally did as of yesterday afternoon. There are some areas that we can use it with as optional, but as far as the board saying we're going to permit an option for parents, that is not what the State Department is recommending. So it does have relevancy to our planning. I just want to, that just came in yesterday afternoon, let you know that.
Dr. Sal, I have a question kind of semi-related to that.
Yeah.
Two questions. Number one, there's no distance learning option for next year. We don't have to offer that. We got that confirmation yesterday.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And our target is 5 days a week for all kids, right?
For next year.
For next year. Yeah. Yes, everything is for next year.
Yeah. Cool.
Is the state going to allow us to?
You went mute. I can't read your lips. I can't.
You could put it in the chat, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, Joe,
sorry about that. Xfinity did their best to lock me up. Is DL going to be an option in lieu of snow days in the future?
One of the bullets that they have like 5 bullets, something like the State Department realizes the value of it and would like to utilize this in different circumstances. And they listed 5. One of them, Joe, did have a comment about when there's inclement weather would extend the time, they would offer it on a limited basis. We don't know
Okay.
what that is, but they did indicate that.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know if there's any more questions, but we have a pretty heavy agenda, the next one to talk about. If we could move forward, which kind of gets to some of Joe's points.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Okay.
Okay. So the Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund, ESSER 2, and I'm going to come back around, but Courtney has coordinated our effort and did file the application to the state last Monday of the $11+ million. I guess we'll be waiting for feedback because, as I've told everybody, ESSA money, yeah, they said it's yours, Danbury, but it comes with an application. And so we've taken, as we've talked about with you guys, areas that were in the operation budget when we cut it back to see where it makes sense. And she has been able to braid those funds in there along with Alliance money. Now, it doesn't account for the extra money that we just talked about, the $5 million in ECS, because we don't know about that. We still don't know what it means about Alliance. But we did submit, Courtney did submit the ESSA funds last week, and we'll be getting some feedback on that. At this point, we expect that they'll approve it, but they may ask us for some modifications. The next item, 2122, sit back and think about this one through. Our goal next year, and we have been planning for all students returning at each of our building for a full day, 5 days a week, back to some normalcy. Over the break in the past while, we've been working with the state legislators. We've been working with the units department at the state level, because we looked at modules. We been working with, and we hired the architect to do assessments, real-time assessments, so that we had good data, because my goal was to bring it here tonight so that you could hear it, and hopefully we'll be able to alert parents as to what we're doing. The city has been part of going out and looking at sites with us. We have, Kevin has a presentation. He's been shepherding this project through. We've been measuring and remeasuring, what have measured twice and cut once. We've been doing that. We found some discrepancies. So there's quite a bit of work here, a lot of support from the town, a lot of support from our principals who have been just a tremendous group giving us feedback going through here. So Kevin, I don't want to spend time doing it. I think you could talk us through and leave it open for the board for questions, okay? Kevin, are you there?
I am. I just had to unmute myself. Thanks, Dr. Sal. So there are 2 slides that Courtney was going to open with to address the application so that the board and the community can see where the money has been allocated and how those monies were submitted.
We could do that. Yeah, so Courtney, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Oh, it's on, Kevin, if you
It's
could.
up. It's up there, Courtney.
Okay,
Carrie, you can put the presentation back up.
there we go.
There it is. Go ahead, Courtney.
We just thought we'd combine it into one. I'll be brief because I know this is a long meeting tonight. Okay, Carrie, you could go to the next. Oh, no, I don't see the, there we go. Okay, so this is just a reminder about the ESSER 1, 2, and 3 funds. So what I was going to talk about briefly is ESSER 2. So we know that 1 is the CARES Act funds that we mostly spent down this year. The ESSER 2 is, as Dr. Sal mentioned, it's about 11.2 million, and we just submitted the application. And then the third, just briefly, I'll tell you the ESSER 3, what the American Rescue Plan funding, that was signed into law in March. It was 1.1 billion came to Connecticut, of which 995 million is to the LEAs, which we'll be a recipient of. And it was provided by the governor to the GA, General Assembly, the plan 2 days ago. So we should be hearing back soon. And that's that third line for the additional 25.17 projected million. And when Kevin goes into the next few slides about the reopening plan and talks about the money, it's mingling all of these funds. So as we get more refined in the ESSER 3 plan, we look forward to talking to the board about, the breakout that's related to reopening and then the other buckets. And okay, you could go to the next slide, Carol, I'll be quick. And this is just a summary, high level summary of the ESSER 2 grant that we just submitted, which is, the 4 categories: learning loss mitigation, family and community engagement, school safety and social and emotional supports, and then technology supports. So you can see how this breaks out. We have additional detail we look forward to sharing with the board in the near future once our grant is approved, but that's for salary and benefits. Mainly, a lot of that salary benefits and learning loss mitigation is for teachers, and then to enable us to expand safely, as Kevin's going to talk about in the reopening plan, as well as some curriculum supplies and social emotional training. The family and community engagement is for some family liaison support, as well as supporting families through family visit stipends, communication and parent support tools. And then there's a big amount in the school safety and social emotional, that's for our counselors. As you remember, we shifted about 3.5 million from our original board request into ESSER 2, so that accounts for a portion of that. And then also some facility lease costs that Kevin's going to go into related to some needs to expand our space and technology supports. So we'll be talking to you in further detail. I just wanted to give you a really broad overview. Again, it was submitted on Monday, so we look forward to hearing back from the state about the application. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Courtney.
Okay.
We're ready for the next slide, Karen. Thank you. So one, let me just start out by saying I just want to acknowledge all of the work that has been done by the cabinet on this. And so one, everyone on this call in the cabinet, principals around the district, extended cabinet, just want to say kudos to Carol Wanda, who's been really helping us organize the planning around this. And I mention the entire cabinet because the 4 phases that are on the screen right now, quite frankly, we have gone through this multiple times in the last school year. And the one element that has been missing from this is the budgeting. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when we talk about the impact from this planning. And so let me just start from left to right. One, as part of this planning to get all of our kids back to in-person learning, I know this is, let me just first start out by saying this has been a priority for Dr. Sal from the beginning. It's been a struggle, and you'll understand the logistics and the challenges of trying to make this happen district-wide in the subsequent slides. So first, as a district, we reviewed our space capacity at every school, every classroom in the district. We have done this several times now through varying points when we've been trying to re-enter schools. So this is nothing new for us. And then the next step where it says, what if analyze, we have reevaluated our space capacity, given a new CDC recommended 3-foot social distancing guidelines. And so with that new information, needless to say, that provided some additional capacity for us and opportunity for us as a district. As many of us know, the district has been afforded, or we're anticipating being afforded ESSER 2, what we're calling ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds. And we've already planned, and quite frankly, we've already planned ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 monies, and looking to leverage those funds with the priority being to reopen our schools safely for all of our students and staff. But with that budgeting, of course, we've been also assessing the financial and academic impact. As Courtney had outlined earlier, the state outlined 4 priorities for the district to use these funds. And we've certainly been assessing all of those realities as part of this planning and forecasting. And then last but not least, and that brings us here this evening, we want to provide an update for the board, our staff who is anxiously awaiting, I'm sure, and then of course also the community. We know our parents and families and students have been anxiously awaiting what the return is going to look like. Indeed, if we are returning, I know Dr. Sal has already mentioned this, unequivocally, we will be back in our buildings in September fully. So here are some of the problems and challenges that have been in front of us. I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to anyone who's watching this evening, and that is space, right? And so with the social distancing guidelines in place, it limits our classroom capacity. 6 through 12 schools, and so our secondary schools do not have the space particularly to house students in the cafeteria. And so I know our families, their preference would be that their high school students, their high school children can be in school all day for a full day. And our challenge we continue to maintain that we can't have the students in the cafeteria and feed them safely with the social distancing guidelines in place. Additionally, at our K-5 schools, we do not have enough teaching sections to accommodate the enrollment guidelines. And so if we're going to have social distancing guidelines, we just don't have enough classrooms to address. And as this community knows, we have talked about a need to expand, particularly at Ellsworth, building that annex. And so we'll have, a little bit relief there in building out more classrooms. And so we have experienced the high enrollment in the district these last couple of years. The social distancing just exacerbates those challenges. And so I'll just speak a little bit more to that. And so solution is our next step. And this is about an investment in facility upgrades, purchasing furniture, leases in the district and outside of the school community, and then of course additional staff. And so just to expand upon that a little bit more, we are looking at purchasing desks, and I'm there's a part of me that's almost uncomfortable talking about the type of desk that we have to order, because I'm thinking about the slide that Kara showed, which she talked about more traditional desk in classrooms. And so we will, there's a need for us as a district to purchase desks that are no more than 28 inches wide, so that we can get our kids back in school safely. Now, the benefit is that as a district, we will have an upgrade in our school furniture. These same desks can be put together to, promote cooperative learning and group work and group activity. So those are good things for sure. But it is a significant investment. See that on the next slide. What we are estimating the furniture investment to be. But just to give the board and the community even greater idea of what this can look like, our middle schools and our high school will need desk instead of cafeteria tables, in which all of our socially distanced, and we will have student desk in our cafeterias in order to spread our students out and to be able to realize the capacity numbers our waves are. And so that's one. 2, at the high school specifically, possibly even one of our middle schools, we are looking at tent leases. I did say tent leases, leasing tents. So like the same type of tents that you would see at banquets, etc. Those type of tents, some of them closed, some of them open, but we're looking at tents, leasing tents, so that for the overflow from our cafeteria, particularly at the high school, with the social distancing guidelines in place, we can only get 300 to 350 students in the cafeteria. We are exploring the idea of using spaces in the school, and then also looking at having courtyard, and also evaluating the idea of also having tents in the tennis courts. We need to work with the city to just make sure we can do that safely so we don't damage the courts themselves. But we've already we're looking for some concrete estimates from the tent company to see if they can put a floor down that is safe enough not to damage the tennis courts. Additionally, we also would like to, we want to continue to maintain the lease that we have at Sacred Heart for overflow, and also to maintain some of our classes that we have there now. But we're also looking to sign a lease agreement with St. Joseph School in Brookfield, Connecticut. And I'll certainly talk about that a little bit more because I'm sure that got a lot of people's attention. Activity, and so staffing, leasing, facility upgrades. We will need to commit to, if we're going to commit to reopen schools, which we are, it's going to require additional staff, furniture, lease agreements, etc. And so we are recommending that we move kindergarten classes next year, incoming kindergarten classes, be moved from South Street Elementary School, Stadley Ruff Elementary School, and Ellsworth Elementary School. And those classrooms, which would add up to 11 sections in total, be reassigned to Brookfield. Danbury High School will look to switch to an 8-period day and add positions to maximize classroom capacity while addressing graduation requirements. And just kind of overall impact, if we're going to safely reopen our schools in the fall, the district will place kindergarten certified staff at the Brookfield site because it would be a single grade focus site for the district for these 3 schools. I'll go into a little bit more detail on why these schools have been chosen. We will also need to commit to this lease to accommodate 200 plus students, and then the staff that will be there to help teach the kids, and and then we will need to purchase furniture for both the cafeterias and classrooms, K-12, and tents for cafeteria overflow. And Kara, can you go to the next slide, please? So just some rough numbers for the board and the community estimates. And so for staffing and supplies, we are looking at hiring 15 teachers at the high school level and asking 2 existing staff members to teach an additional class to address graduation requirements. We will need to hire 20 teachers for our elementary schools, including special education, including 2 special education, I'm sorry, that 22 teachers include special education and ESL teachers, 2 PPS staff for the site as well, and whatever other support staff we might need for the Brookfield expansion. And then of course, we'll need to outfit all of those classrooms in Brookfield, and any additional classes we'll be adding on in the district, which again, I'll speak to a little bit further on, in supplies and additional classrooms added district-wide at an estimated cost of $3.4 million. Lease and furniture. And so lease and tents for the high school and the middle school to address safety while maintaining social distancing, purchasing desk at the elementary and secondary schools to accommodate social distancing, committing to the lease will come to an estimated $1.8 million. Last but not least, transportation. It appears we will need at least 10 additional buses for the fall, in which 5 will be needed just for the Brookfield expansion, so students won't have to be on those rides too long. And then 5 additional buses will also be needed for overall growth in the district. These costs are based on current pricing from the Transportation Authority. This comes at a total cost of $5,900,083. And And so I just want to go back to, in summary, and I want to revisit why we've identified South Street, Ellsworth, and Stadley Ruff as schools to move those kindergarten sites to Brookfield, and then why kindergarten specifically. So one, kindergarten specifically, I think as a district, and there's many different ways we could have approached this, but we were having a hard time with the idea of pulling students from a grade where they were moving up or graduating from one of our elementary schools. We were having a hard time trying to come up with a protocol to pull any other grades from a school and why they would be pulled. Dr. Sal had mentioned this previously in previous meetings. The board, I think, is aware that we have sister school arrangements for enrollment and registration purposes. And so just for clarification, a sister school arrangement is, for example, Ellsworth and Great Plain are two sister schools in our district. And so if Ellsworth is experiencing high enrollment in a certain grade, that student and that family, once we have exhausted all of the classroom spaces at Ellsworth, and if there's space at Great Plain, we will then transfer those students or that family to Great Plain. Those sister school arrangements exist all throughout our elementary schools. And so we will continue to exercise those arrangements to handle enrollment increases throughout the district. An additional clarification on the elementary additions, we don't need to hire new teachers for the Brookfield expansion. We need to hire 16 additional teachers that will backfill certain spaces throughout the district. So for example, this board is aware that we opened up the Granville Academy this year for our pre-K program. Those classes previously were in Great Plain and Haystown. The district is looking to backfill those classrooms with additional sections. So we have the space. And so we'll be looking to bring on 4 sections in those 2 sections at each school next year. Kindergarten is one of them. Grade 2 is another grade. And then in Stephanie's school, at Haystown Elementary School, we'll bring in, I believe it's grade 2 and grade 4 as well. And so throughout the rest of the elementary schools, we have 12 more FTEs or teachers that we'll be looking to hire. Those classrooms will be in Shelter Rock. We will be adding an additional section. South Street will be adding 1 section. We will be adding 2 sections at Stadley Ruff. We'll be adding a section at Park Avenue. We'll be adding a section at, I've already mentioned Haystown. We'll be adding a section at Pembroke. We'll be adding 2 sections at Great Plain, 2 sections at Haystown. I may be missing 1, but the point being, we will be adding sections at multiple sites throughout the district in our elementary schools. In addition to moving these 11 sections out of our district so that Ellsworth, which is already overcrowded, to make sure that they can, number 1, have space for their support staff, because we were maximizing, in our attempt to maximize every space in that school, we found when we were done with the exercise of what the reopening would look like in the fall, we realized at that point we did not have space for our support staff, and we also did not have enough space to safely have our kids in the cafeteria on a daily basis. For those of you who have been through Ellsworth Elementary School, it happens to be one of our smaller cafeterias in the district. We were also evaluating the idea of having a tent outside of Ellsworth, and then at that point just felt like it just was no longer appropriate to consider that as an option. Ellsworth would have been the only elementary school that would have needed a tent outside of its building to have kids safely social distance. So first, Ellsworth was one of our first schools. Again, as everyone on the board is aware, we are looking at breaking ground on the annex building very soon, and we're hoping that is going to be opened up in the fall of next year. So that we thought, number one, it was also made sense to move our kindergarten sections across town, and then they would return and come back into the new building, which is actually being outfitted for kindergarten classrooms. South Street, this year is the first year we have gone to 3 sections in every grade since I've been here. 3 sections in every grade level at South Street. One of the classrooms, and so the principal at South Street had 4 sections in 2 of her grades. We reduced that going into this school year. One of those classrooms was actually turned into a nurse's office because we needed a nurse's office for our previously the nurse's office was in the principal's office, and with COVID and trying to make sure we can have a safe space for kids, we had to make sure the nurse's office was in a separate space. It's actually appropriate space that it's in, but it also took up a classroom. And so that was, one of the 2 reasons why we had to reduce the sections at the school. There's still one classroom available at the building, and so we will be looking to take advantage of that one. However, with that said, when going through the exercise of trying to open up South Street for next year, again, we noticed, and at that school, they're already challenged with space for support staff, challenged with space for their cafeteria. They too are one of the smallest cafeterias in the district. So this is again another reason why South Street was identified as a school that was logically to be moved to the St. Joseph Brookfield site. Last but not least, Stadley Ruff. It's Stadley, interestingly enough, number one, it's one of our bigger elementary schools in the district. But what we found through our many walkthroughs in the building is that the classrooms are just much like Ellsworth, oddly shaped. And a lot of our classrooms could not accommodate the 22 with social distancing, or even 20 with social distancing in a number of these grade levels. And so we went through the exercise with the principal, looking at what it would look like to open up the building in the fall. We found ourselves looking at taking over this space in the library media space, which is actually very big. He'll be able to accommodate many of his support staff. But then we also found, like the other schools, we would have needed to take his music classroom, his art classroom, and other available spaces to not only add the 2 sections that he still needs, but then we would have been compromising space for his specials. And as Dr. Sal has mentioned a number of times, we want to try to get back to as normal school as possible. And we, after reevaluating the position at Stadley Ruff, we thought it was best to also move his sections to Brookfield Elementary School. It also works out geographically. Of the 3 schools, Stadley Ruff happens to be the closest one to Brookfield. The other ones are not so conveniently located to Brookfield, but it does help release some of the challenges that we have with space at South Street and Ellsworth specifically.
Kevin, one thing too for the board, maybe I didn't say it, this is a full day of school, if particularly at the secondary, with the challenges for the cafeteria and spaces at the high school. Also, just there will be 13 classes at St. Joe's, is that correct? Or 12?
Yes, it would actually be 11. It could accommodate up to 13, but we thought it was best to stay around 11 so we can have dedicated spaces for support staff there, and also our specials as well.
Yeah. So the board, every school will be impacted with Granville opening, even though it opened late, it was a January or thereabouts for next year, where it's going to create space so that we could create the sister school arrangement in here, which the demographer just alerted us to, expecting about 1,000 kindergartens. So not only do we, have the space issue, we have the increase, particularly at the kindergarten. So all of this, hopefully, will be able to accommodate our needs. We looked at the modules, didn't work out for us, even though we were able to get them at a school district that had some special circumstances and had some lease. They would be remotely located, and not attached to buildings. We thought there was some security issues. So this is the plan for the board to consider to really be able to bring back youngsters. And this is making the assumption that the social distancing is part of our expectations when we return. We keep asking if there's going to be some variances on that. And what I'm told, quite honestly, is that until the CDC makes some decisions, you can expect to have this 3-week guidelines, even with the vaccination, particularly at the secondary level. K-5, I think, will be with us only because of the vaccination part. But so that's making all these assumptions. I don't understand, or I don't know how we could plan and say to the board and to the community, well, we'll just wait until August. That's a ridiculous statement. You know, I test positive for stupidity if I did that. So that's why you have what you have in front of you, which is a pretty aggressive plan in a lot of ways. We had some real challenges about who would go to St. Joe's or the new site. If it was a K-5 building, how do you make choices? You got families, different grade levels kids have been in. We thought kindergarten, although they're going to have to move out of Danbury, they haven't been in the school system. There shouldn't be a connection unless they're siblings, obviously. But we thought that would be the least destructive to our families and kids. I'm saying to folks, with the enrollment the way it's going, you may need these buildings for more than 1 year. But right now, Kevin has been working with St. Joe's with a 1-year lease, and we have 1 year left on Sacred Heart at this point. Kevin,
so Dr. South, I can just also say to the board and for the community, we did speak to the transportation department as registrations continue to come in. We're trying to get a handle on where our families live and assess what the drive would look like for our families. To date, we're anticipating, number one, it definitely will not be as, and I don't want to say anything bad about our magnet school, but we do not anticipate it will be as long a ride as our magnet school, because we have kind of more of a controlled area to pull from. STA is anticipating as of right now, you know, based on the parameters that we provided them, 25 to 30-minute ride for our students. That's what they are estimating that ride to be. But we will have more specifics for them. We just ran a report for the initial first wave of kindergarten registrations that have come in, and we've shared those addresses with them, and we'll continue to share that with them so we can have some kind of information for our families in real time so they can understand the impact. Just also wanted to be clear, we'll also be looking to have ELP services in the AM and PM at the Brookfield site for our families, understanding there might be a need for childcare there as well. And so the same services that we would be providing in Danbury would certainly happen in Brookfield as well.
I think at that point, I mean, we're still working on this, obviously. You know, the tents, the bus routes and everything, but at least you got the whole gestalt about what we're thinking at this point. So thanks, Kevin, and thanks, team, for putting it together. So any questions and comments?
Madam Chair, I have a question when it's appropriate.
Yes. Before you go, Mr. De Silva, I'd just like to make a comment, and I certainly appreciate all the work that has been going into this. I'm thinking as a board, and it's 9:20 at night. And once you pull the rest of the information that you need to pull into this, we could sit down as a board and have a workshop on this, because I'm quite sure there's questions that's going to be longer than 1 or 2 quick seconds, that as a board workshop, we can have a much better discussion about this. You know, I just don't know how anybody else feels, but go ahead, Mr. De Silva.
I'm happy to wait for a board workshop for most of them. I got one quick one then. All of it, correct me if I'm wrong, this planning is what we need to do in order to come back full-time 5 days a week and comply with distancing.
Yes, Joe.
If the CDC removes the distancing requirement in July or in August, can we undo this?
So Joe, thanks for that question. One, I don't know if Dan is still on. I just want to applaud him for accepting this assignment and assuming this additional task, if you will. So we have asked Dan any commitment in our schedule that we've made in terms of overages or additional classes that teachers might be teaching, to set up the schedule in a way so at the halfway point in the school year, we can mitigate, any additional investments that we've made and pivot at the middle of the year and come out of that. Joe, more specifically to your question about those other things in terms of the lease, the commitments to the staff, et cetera, I do not anticipate if we were to hear from the CDC in late July or August. Quite frankly, if we hear in late June, it might be too late for us because we hope to make our hires. We hope to have our lease agreements taken care of. And for year one, quite frankly, I think there is a silver lining in this. We can cut into class size significantly across our K-5 classrooms. There's possibly we can do that also at the high school. It's not ideal. The last thing that I'd want us to spend our money on are tents outside. And so if we don't have to continue leasing tents and our kids can go in the cafeteria, I think that is something certainly we can undo. But I think there are some benefits to having extra teachers in the system, cutting into class size, and think it's an opportunity for us to mitigate some of the learning challenges that we know our kids are going to have. And they'll get more one-on-one attention. So for year one, we might be locked in, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
But not everything.
Okay, perfect.
Quick question, if I may.
Yes.
Kevin, because I don't know any better, is there any social emotional impact on a kindergarten age child being on a bus for an hour a day?
Well, there's always could be that possibility. They're so energetic. I think it goes by pretty fast. We're hoping it's not going to be an hour, Al. I think what I heard, the initial model was a half hour. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Mr. Russo, we did evaluate this with an initial evaluation with the STA, and they are projecting a 25 to 30-minute ride. And so, one of the reasons why we have 5 buses for these 3 schools is to make sure our kids are not on the road for, more 30, 40, 50 minutes trying to get to the building. What we also heard in our feedback is because it's not a true magnet school where they have to drive all over the city to pick up students, it's actually not going to be as long as the AIS ride is currently. So it will not be the longest ride for our students in district for sure.
Thank you.
Gladys, I think if the board's going to have a workshop, I think the community is waiting for something. And, I think I'll make the statement anywhere. We're going to come back 5 days a week. The money in the ESSA, Courtney has been mindful of that and has put it to the side. She's ordered the 10 buses. The staffing, Kevin articulated, these are things that this district should have had to begin with. So at some point, if this workshop could be earlier rather than later, so that we could get information out to our parents, it really is important. I'm glad this is on TV tonight. At least we can get the initial, information out to folks what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sim. Unless there's any board members that have any other questions, or, what are you feeling about a workshop? If you guys.
Yeah, can I be brief? I
Yes.
mean, I think a workshop is excellent. I have a few questions, but just the most pressing is, for me, is there's another surrounding district who is going back full-time, 5 days a week, very soon. And a letter went out to parents, I believe, saying that the 3 feet social distancing recommendation, not requirement, may not be fulfilled in some classrooms. So I don't understand how they can do that. And also, it's such a shame that we can't utilize the distance learning in any way, shape, or form when for some is working so well. And even before COVID, that was a topic that came up to address the overcrowding. Those are my really quick 2 cents, but I would appreciate a workshop, and I'm available anytime.
Any other comments? If not, Dr. Sarah, you want to say something?
No, I'll just work with
Okay.
you to get some. I think, there's some questions, but the sooner we get around this,
Right,
the better for all of us.
right.
So thank you.
We'll have a side conversation early tomorrow, about the workshop and the information and how you want to get it out, okay? I'm gonna move on, if you're finished, Dr. Sarah, I'm gonna move on down to the agenda. My board chairperson report is gonna be very brief, just like for all the board members to look at the future meeting dates. And there will be some extra meeting dates. We're looking forward to working with Ray and Associates, okay? And their first email to me today is they want to meet with the full board. So, it might not be at your convenience, we have to sort of work around everybody's schedule and put this in place. And we know that they're here to work with us to take us through this process. So when you get the call or you get the email, let me know that this day does not work with you before I contact them. Okay? Thank you. If there's nothing else, we're going. Yes.
I just want, it has comment. I just want to make a comment. I just want to publicly apologize to Courtney for what happened this evening. First, we should have, and I'll speak to Aaron about that. I think talking about generalities coming to a personnel we can identify was not the right thing to do. So I do publicly want to apologize to her, and we should have stepped in this topic. So I just wanted her to know that publicly.
Thank you, Dr. Sal. I appreciate that.
I want to add to that too, Courtney. I'm very sorry that happened. And publicly, I think she should be reprimanded.
Thank you, Kathy. I also appreciate that.
Courtney, you know how we feel about you. We know that you're doing a great job, okay? And one of the things that, that we know, whether you might like it or not, you've taken on a humongous job, and at some point, I think this board need to look at, some type of assistance to you and to help with other things. And you first focus on the budget and the money aspect of this board, okay? So I'm sorry that it happened this way. It was out of the norm, and it should not have happened. And I apologize to you, okay?
Well, thank you so much, Gladys, and everybody. This district means a lot to me, and the integrity of our information and the people that we work with, and the support and relationship with Aaron as well. So, thank you. I appreciate that, and we'll just keep going forward from here.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'll second.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Kate.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Hang on, point of inquiry, Madam Chair. Are we going to have to vote on anything? And if so, do we have to come back into public session?
I don't think so.
Kip? Oh, no.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be adjourning directly from executive session.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make that point so the public knows we're not coming back.
Yeah, right. And we got to
Okay.
switch over to the executive session.
Kara, Pompano, is there a separate link for everybody?
Yes, there's
Yep.
a separate
Yes,
link.
it's a
Separate link.
That's why I asked the question. Okay.
Thank you. We're adjourning.
I think we're adjourning.
Yes.
All those
We're
in
not
favor?
we're not adjourning. We're not adjourning.
We're entering.
We're going to
an
executive session.
I'm entering executive session.
Enter executive session.
Motion's okay. Okay.
See everybody there.
See